Hi everyone, this is Laura Robinson from the Chattanooga Area Food Bank, and this is a Garden Network video. Today is February 25th. So here in Chattanooga, we are kind of coming out of our winter season and things are starting to warm up. We had some really cold temperatures last week, but this week we're in the 60s and things will probably stay pretty consistent from here on out. So we are kind of in the middle of transitioning the garden from things that were planted in the fall to now planting things for spring. And our spring is very short here. We basically get March, April, maybe through like part of May is what I would consider spring. And then by the middle of May, if not earlier, we're planting summer crops. So this is mainly for people in my garden network who are going to be picking up plants that I'm giving away next week for a plant giveaway. So I'm going to be going through various things, but I'll also kind of show you around the garden and what we're harvesting, what we're leaving in the ground, just for your reference. So for my garden network people, I did want to show you some things I'm going to have available next week. Here I have cabbage. We're going to have plenty of cilantro. I have some sweet pea flowers. So these are not the edible peas, but the flowers. They do grow like peas, so they need a trellis to grow up. I'm gonna have some nasturtium flowers. I'm gonna have various types of Asian greens. These are Tokyo Bacana, which is kind of like, it almost looks like a lettuce kind of, but has a little bit of a different flavor. I'm gonna have collards, and my collards did not germinate very well this year, so they're still pretty tiny. But I will have collards. There's more collards, more cilantro. Is this more cabbage? Yes, more cabbage. More Tokyo Bacana. I'm pretty sure this lettuce, which is really pretty, it's called Freckles. Isn't that pretty? I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna plant this here, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have this lettuce available. More lettuce, marigolds, and I do have this, it's called bronze fennel. You can't see it very well, but it is a great pollinator. It's still pretty tiny. It might be something you want to keep in the cup for a while and not plant out right away. I'll have scallions, more nasturtium, which are flowers, and also the leaves are edible. Broccoli rabe I'll have a decent amount of. What are these guys? More Asian greens. Oh, this is kind of fun. If anybody wants to start a asparagus patch, I have a bunch of asparagus here. Obviously, well, not obviously, you might not know this. You have to leave asparagus to grow for a number of years before you can harvest it. So it's kind of an investment. It probably takes, 3 to 5 years before you get thick stalks, because you can see how thin that is. But that's here if you want to start a patch. More lettuce. More lettuce. And I will have, I'm not going to pull it down, but up here, I have, actually I will show you because it'll make more sense if I just show you one thing. I have a plant called false blue indigo, and these are a perennial. They're a great pollinator. They get, 3 feet high, maybe 3 feet wide, so you do need some space if you want to plant them. But those will be available. And I'll also have some other flowers. I'm trying to see what I have planted up here. Calendula, I'll probably have some of that available. So as I'm going through everything for next week and getting them into containers, there might be a few more things that I've decided not to plant here. I also wanted to show you kind of the status of some of the summer seeds that I'm starting. I've started a lot of peppers so far. You can see in this tray, like, the germination has been a little spotty. So I have peppers. I also have some peppers up here already that I just needed more room on the heat mats. And then I've started 4 trays of tomatoes as well. So just trying to get a head start on all my summer seeds. And I'll probably be starting some more things like eggplant, melon, that kind of stuff in just a few weeks. Okay, so like I mentioned, we did have a really intense cold snap last week, at least for our area. The lows, I think, were in the teens for numerous nights. I did plant some spring items early, and then I had to cover all the beds. Almost everything I had to cover. Some things I covered with plastic just to keep it extra insulated. So you can see it's kind of hard because this is red lettuce. But I had this bed covered, I think this one was covered 2 layers deep, and the lettuce came out fine. So if you want to try to fudge when you can start planting, you just have to be prepared for getting things covered up pretty well. I also had some broccoli rabe, which I planted early and then had to cover, but that's looking pretty good. So broccoli rabe is a great thing because it just matures so quickly. And like I said earlier, things that you plant in the spring, you need them to mature pretty fast because our summer starts fairly early. Okay, so I did want to show you, we're in the kind of transition phase of cleaning beds out so that they are ready to plant for spring. I try to plant all my spring crops in the beginning of March. So there are a few things that I'm going to clear out. There are a few things I'm going to keep, and I'll show you that now. So this bed I had Swiss chard. This bed I had spinach. And I could have left those growing. They probably would have kept going for a while, but I decided that I'd rather plant something new for spring. So I just harvested everything, and I'll clear out everything that's remaining in the beds to get it ready for next week. I have a bed of garlic, which was planted in the fall last year, and garlic here typically gets harvested in the end of May or early June. Another bed of Swiss chard, which I'm going to harvest this week and clear the bed out so that I can plant some spring things. And most of what I'm planting out here in this spring, I like planting broccoli rabe, lettuces, Asian greens because they mature quickly. I'll plant a couple beds of potatoes. I might plant some beets, carrots, radishes, scallions. Again, anything that matures quick because I want to get those crops, the spring crops out and get ready to plant summer things in the middle of May. I have beets that were planted in the fall, which I don't think they've matured very well or much at all over the winter, but I'm just gonna pull everything out, so maybe we'll just have a bunch of baby beets because this is another bed that I need. I have 2 beds of collards. These were planted in the fall, and I did notice that there was one collard, and I'll show you when we get to that bed, that was starting to go to seed. It was starting to form up a little head, so that's how you know that basically the plant is done. I'm going to try to keep the collards and kale that I have for as long as I can, and whenever those start to go to seed, then I'll take them out and probably just plant radishes or lettuce or something easy like that. But the collards and the kale came through our cold snap well. I have a bed of Tokyo Bacana, which I did show you inside. They're little greens right now, but it's a type of Asian green. It's a non-heading type of cabbage, and it just kind of looks like a tall, frilly, light green leaf. You could probably mistake it for lettuce. but it's actually like a cabbage basically. I have a couple beds of 1,000 head kale. These, I think it's just because it's been so cold, but depending on how long these last, I'm gonna see how big they get. I mean, you can see some of the leaves are pretty big, but I'm hoping to kind of keep these going to see what we get out of them. I have a bed of turnips, which I'm not going to lift up, but because they're basically just greens right now. I did start a bed of peas. I want to say it was maybe 3 weeks ago. And you can see if you keep them covered, peas will germinate really well in cold temperatures. So excited to get an early start on peas. I have scallions, a bed of scallions from the fall, which I'm continuing to harvest when they get bigger. And then I'm just gonna put some radishes in this bed for the spring. Here is the other bed of collards that I mentioned. And if you look, let's see if you can tell on here. See, I broke off. There was a head, like a little, it looked like a little broccoli head. And there's a little bit right there forming up. So you know that this plant is kind of getting ready to go to seed, and I'll probably need to start harvesting just all the leaves that are left on these plants and clearing this bed out for something else in the spring. But I like to wait as long as I can, if possible, because these are still really productive plants. Yeah, so you can see the dinosaur kale, which is my favorite kale, is looking pretty good. I also planted these little plants down here, are called Claytonia or miner's lettuce. And I just planted these last week, I believe. They're supposed to be a really cold hardy green. I mean, now it's starting to warm up. Being cold hardy probably isn't that advantageous for what I planted, but we'll see kind of how that grows. Hopefully it matures fast. I don't really remember the maturity on that. I do have a bed under this of fava beans. Now you can see, I don't know if you can tell this, but I have a layer of plastic over the top because I just noticed that they were not germinating, so I felt like they needed to have a little extra heat. Now that it's warming up, I probably actually need to take that plastic off because it might be getting a little too warm in there, but that's something that I need to double check. Here's another bed of 1,000 head kale. Let's see, for information, it can reach 3 feet long. It says it's very hardy. So yeah, it's kind of been a fun thing, a fun new variety of kale to grow. I have a bed of arugula, which was planted, I think this was actually planted in November, which has actually been a really great crop to get to germinate late in the, well actually, was that winter yet? No, that was late fall. So it germinated late fall and has held up over the winter really well. So that's something that I would definitely do again if you end up with empty beds during that time of year. I think arugula has been a really great crop for that. I have a bed of leeks, which none of them have are getting big enough to harvest, but you can see like this is just starting to kind of bulk up as compared to like this little guy that still kind of looks like a scallion. The leeks and the garlic were the only two things in this garden that I did not cover when it got super cold. They can kind of withstand anything, at least the extreme temperatures that we get in Tennessee, which are not that extreme, but they hold up really well. I'm not going to open this up, but I have a bunch of plants in here that I am hardening off. If you aren't familiar with that term, hardening off means you're taking plants that maybe lived in a greenhouse and you're putting them outside for just a short period of time every day, and you're increasing that time as the days go by. So like the first day I set them out for like 2 hours and then I put them back in the greenhouse. The next day I would set them out for 4 hours, the next day 6 hours, and you get the idea. So I'm keeping them out here under cover just to kind of harden them off a little bit more, so they'll be exposed to the elements, but not, they still have some protection. Because these are the things that I'm planning to plant probably by the end of this week. So let me just open this a little bit. Let's see, in here I have lots of Asian greens, I have lettuce, oh, and I do have cabbage. There's a type of cabbage called tiara cabbage that's supposed to mature fast. So we're gonna try that out and see if we can get some cabbage in the spring, because usually that's something that I just plant in the fall. I think that's about it in terms of what's going on in the garden right now. So again, just to summarize, we're kind of switching things out from winter crops to spring, also preparing seeds in the greenhouse for summer already, because that's just right around the corner for us. And yeah, that's about it. For my Garden Network people, I'm gonna put in some reminders. There is the fall or spring plant giveaway next Friday, March 7th, I believe. Also, if you are interested in applying for the mini grant, which I listed before in my previous email, those submissions are due by Friday. And yeah, I'll put in any other notes I have in the email along with this video. I hope things are going well in your garden. Please let me know how I can help and support you. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.